Shalom, family. Good to see you here again. We're going to talk about what's going on with the National Guard not getting paid. And nobody should be shocked over this because Donald Trump has a long-standing reputation of not paying people, not paying contractors. If you remember in his first term during the shutdown, they had that 3-week long shutdown. He didn't pay the contractors. And the contractors were the ones that continued to work during the lockdown, and when the lockdown was over, he would not pay the contractors that worked during that time. He gave them nothing. And I was reading back when Trump Tower was being built, he brought over a bunch of construction workers. I believe they were all from Poland. They had to sue Donald Trump. Can you imagine building that big ass building over there in Manhattan and he don't pay you? Well, that's what he did. They finally did get paid, but they had to take Donald Trump to court. He didn't want to give them nothing for building Trump Tower. So he's been at this for a long, long time. So nobody should be shocked. I know some of you are in the National Guard. I have family members, and I know many of you probably do too, have people in the military, and they may be in the National Guard. So I'm going to show you a recent article and then one that came out after the National Guard left California. Okay. So let me get this first article up on the screen. Here we go. Now, we all remember how the National Guard was deployed to LA because of all of the protesting that was going on and pretty much got out of hand over there. So, the National Guard soldiers that were deployed to LA, they didn't get paid, y'all. These folks have left their jobs to do these deployments because many of them have full-time jobs and they're in the National Guard. And Donald Trump did not pay these people, y'all. Can you imagine being deployed all that time for at least 3 to 4 weeks and you don't get paid? Well, there's a reason why they cut them off on day 29, and I'm going to let you hear the reason why in the videos. And some of the people that are explaining this, they themselves were in the National Guard. Okay. So let me show you the one on DC. Let me show you the article that came out about DC. Let's see, is that one up here? Hold on one second. Yeah, here it is. All right, so this one came out in the Military Times recently. And timely payments for guard deployed to DC are concern, lawmakers say. So let me show you why they are concerned. National Guard troops have been stationed in DC for a week, but when will they get paid for this unusual assignment is still unclear. They haven't gotten paid in DC. They haven't gotten paid. They've been out there all this time and nobody is getting paid. Can you imagine that? I mean, I'm sure these people got families, children, spouses, people they're taking care of in their lives and themselves. They got to take care of themselves too. And you're not getting paid. I don't see how Donald Trump can continue to get away with this. And it just goes to show you how cowardly the Congress and Senate are. How come nobody is rising up to complain about this? You don't hear nobody on the Republican or the Democratic side complaining that the National Guard is not getting paid. Boy, nobody got your back up in this system. These people are weak as hell. All right. So I have put together some videos that I'm going to show you. Okay. And like I said, some of these people, they themselves were in the National Guard, and some of them, they know several people. Usually, you're in the military, you know other people that are in the National Guard, and they're getting it directly from them that they're not getting paid. All right. Give me a one if you can see my screen. Give me a one if you can see my screen. Now, far as I know, none of my relatives that are in the National Guard are in DC, but I would hate for that to happen to them. Who the hell wants to do all this work out on the streets and walking the streets all night and just for you not to get paid? That's ridiculous. You're away from your family, you're away from your kids, and Donald Trump don't want to give you a dime for your service. Okay, thank you, y'all.
So the 4,000 National Guardsmen that Donald J. Trump deployed to LA are not getting paid. As of June 11th, 2025, it has been reported by military.com that the National Guard soldiers have not been paid. The 4,000 California National Guard soldiers who Trump surged into Los Angeles remain unpaid due to delays in issuing official activation orders, leaving compensation and benefits in limbo. And this is coming from the National Guardsmen themselves. According to more than a dozen guardsmen across 4 units who spoke to military.com, none have received formal activation orders, the critical paperwork that not only authorizes their duty status, but also unlocks pay, the TRICARE health benefits, and eligibility for the Department of Veterans Affairs Services. Without those orders, troops remain in a legal and administrative limbo. What a lot of people don't understand is that the National Guardsmen are part-time, which means that they have civilian jobs in which a lot of them get paid more than what they would be on National Guard status. Some part-time troops reported leaving better paying civilian jobs without clarity on how much they'll earn when mobilized. Some part-time troops reported leaving better paying civilian jobs without clarity on how much they'll earn while mobilized. The financial implications of how those orders are written is significant. Depending on how long troops are activated and how the orders are written, soldiers may or may not qualify for basic housing allowances, an additional $3,000 to $5,000 per month, depending on rank and location in the Los Angeles area. And even though Pete Kegsbreath came out and said that they would be deployed for 30 days, the Pentagon estimates the mission will be 60 days. And Acting Department Comptroller Bryn McDonald testified at a House budget hearing that the cost of deploying the National Guard in Los Angeles will be $134 million. And this is what happens when you have a dictator who just likes to bark orders with having no plan in place. And unfortunately, we, the people, as well as our guardsmen, are the ones to pay the price.
You are not going to believe this, despite it being so fucking predictable. Do you know the National Guard called into Washington to keep it safe and to clean it up? In some instances, literally, because there's nothing for them to do. Those guys, do you know that their benefits kick in at day 30 of their tour generally? Do you know what the Trump administration is about to do to them? They cycle them out at day 29 so that they don't get to receive their full military benefits. Not their health care, not their pay, not their leave days. Nothing. All of that is activated on day 30, which they're not going to hit because the government doesn't want to pay their fucking service members to go and do this shit. Get this, they'll reactivate some of them on day 31 so it doesn't count as a consecutive order, or they'll just replace them altogether. This little bullshit exercise is costing the American people $1 million a day, and they're still finding a way to fuck over service members. Don't get this confused. Nobody wants the National Guard there, least of all me. The service members don't want to be there. This is just yet another good example of the Republicans doing everything else other than what's right.
They're officially not getting health care either. Under 30-day orders, you do not get like health care and TRICARE for you and your families. Yes, they can go to the emergency room, the doctor, and that stuff will be covered under like if they get injured or whatever, like an LOD or whatever. But if this lasts for months on end, they're pulled away from their jobs. If they keep cutting the orders at 29 days, it messes with benefits. And it's not just healthcare. There's other things that happen on that type of order. I know because I worked on those type of orders for a majority of my career full time. So whenever anybody's like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm like, no, bitch, I fucking know exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. And my friends are the ones cutting orders right now. But yeah, it's a really fucked up game that's being carried on the backs of those fucking soldiers right now. But to end this, anyways, those type of orders are for people, for emergencies or for people that don't have families or kids. But that's not what's happening. This power is being abused. And now they've been turned into gardeners. This is fucking embarrassing.
So, but I've been out mowing this morning, so I finally get a chance to catch up on the news. There's been another ruling on the situation with the National Guard. But come to find out that I got friends all over here. Military friend called me. Trump put them on 29-day orders. And you may say, probably won't take 29 days to get this out the way. Why did he put them on 29-day orders? Well, in working around the unit as a unit administrator and with unit administrators and being somebody who was caught up during ice storms and so on and deployments and stuff, when you put the National Guard soldiers on 29-day orders, you do not have to pay them BAH type 1. I mean, if anybody cared about troops and actually understood how this works and was a troop, I would be highly upset that you put me on 29-day orders so you could cut me off before the next day, so that way I don't have to get full benefits. I'm gonna read it to you. So, bottom line to it is this. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna read you the exact law, since you guys who weren't in the National Guard know everything, but that's another story. Let me tell you. All right, so here we go. National Guard members on a single order for fewer than 30 days may have their pay processed through a system like My Unit Pay and receive BAH Type 2. If an order is extended to a total duration of more than 29 days, the service member may become eligible for BAH Type 1. Now, the bottom line to it is they're going to put them on for 29 days. And if they want them to come back, they're going to fire them on the 30th day, and they're going to bring them back on the 31st day. So they're going to stack the orders. And the bottom line to it is when you own for less than this, you just don't receive the benefits that you're supposed to receive while being on active duty, even though these people are pulled away from their jobs and they're pulled away from their life. They're pulled away from their kids' soccer games. They're pulled away from everything that they got to do in their own personal life to be on orders, only to not receive BAH Type 1.
Let's fucking talk about it. And today we're going to talk about why Trump only has a 29-day deployment for the National Guard. For those of you that don't know, the reason why Trump has had a 29-day cycle in his deployment for the National Guard is because he does not want to pay for their housing or their health care. You see, if they're deployed 30 days or more, then the government has to foot the bill for their health care and their housing. Because right now, all the men and women that are serving in the National Guard that was called to Washington, D.C. is doing it with their own money, which means they are not paying for them to stay there. The people, the men and women that are in there, they're paying it for themselves to be there. But see, Trump, he doesn't care about our military. He's shown it time and time and time and time again. He calls them losers and suckers. He called them there for a fraudulent reason. There is not some major crime spree going on in Washington, D.C. Statistics have shown that it's been down by 30% from the year before. He is doing this because he wants to show his fucking power. That's all this is about. The man does not fucking care. Point blank fucking period. He's only using these men and women. He doesn't care about them. And once they reach that 29-day deployment cycle, he sends them back home and then brings new ones to the front. And the 29-day cycle continues. Because he knows on day 30, he has to pay for their housing. He has to pay for their health care. And he's not willing to do that. What does that say about a president? We got men and women who put their lives on the fucking line, but he does not fucking care about them whatsoever. And this just further proves it. Fuck Trump. Fuck his regime. And fuck anybody who continues to support this fucking psycho lunatic.
The National Guard is broke. They ain't got no money to come to your city. He might send them, but they got no beds. They got no food. They got nothing. It's just a matter of time before they get a little pissed off, don't you think?
Well, well, well. It's Monday, baby, and I stayed up late last night reading a report. Yes, dear. You know it costs us millions upon millions of dollars a day so that Daddy Dumpy Pants can have his way and have the National Guard deployed all over the place. Yes, baby, millions of dollars a day per city, per deployment, dear. And it just so happens, according to reports from service members themselves, he rotates them out every 29 days, right before that 30-day mark, the day that they would get paid for their deployment and get extra bonus benefits. And that would be when their health care kicks in too. But he rotates them out just in time and then rotates them back on the 31st. So once again, he can use them without paying them a dime. That sounds about Trump to me.
Right now, there's growing concern about how the National Guard's members are being treated while they are being deployed to American cities under the Donald Trump administration. When the National Guard is mobilized, we assume that these men and women who also have a civilian life with a career and families, and they put it on hold, we assume that they're at least getting paid for their service. But studies and reports are showing that this hasn't always been the case. Let's use Los Angeles as an example. In June of 2025, the Trump administration deployed 4,000 California National Guard's troops to help with the federal crackdown. But military.com is reporting that weeks later, they have not received any pay. And the reason why is because their official activation orders had not been received, and they are required before pay and benefits can be processed. Additionally, if they are in a deployment and they're not extended beyond 30 days, they do not qualify for what's called TRICARE healthcare, which is military healthcare, or any sort of housing allowance. The Military Times is reporting that this is not just a Los Angeles situation. This is happening to the National Guard that went to Washington, D.C. And just to remind you, Trump ordered 800 National Guard's troops to Washington, D.C. Senator Richard Blumenthal raised alarms when he publicly said, hey, you guys are already deploying the National Guards to these politically tense situations. And now you're putting them in a financial hardship because they're not getting their pay from the government. And they're missing out on their regular career pay because they took all this time off of work. It's important to note that in Washington, D.C., there are certain situations where a person is in the guards, so they're working for the guards in D.C., but they're also considered a federal civilian employee. Those people will eventually get 2 paychecks. So TikTok, I want to hear your thoughts on this. And if you need to add something to this video because I tweaked something incorrectly, I welcome you to do so. But in my opinion, if we're going to do these rush orders to deploy the troops, then we should be rushing their paperwork, especially for the people that were in Los Angeles. If they were here for the month of June and it's now September and they don't have a paycheck and they missed 30 or more days of their regular work and missed out on seeing their families, I just think that's total BS. Let me know what you think in the comments.
Members of the National Guard are not receiving payment being deployed to DC, just like they weren't when they were deployed to LA. This all stems from a lack of official activation orders being issued, as well as detailed deployment directives not being given. This happened back in June to the Guard members who were deployed in LA and is now happening again to those in DC. Now, while they eventually did get paid, a lot of people need to understand that when National Guard are deployed, they leave their regular jobs. Therefore, they are not receiving income from those regular jobs. They are relying on the income of their deployment, and the fact that it's not being delivered in a timely manner puts our service members at risk. It's despicable.
Mm. Yeah, it's despicable. You know, I feel sorry for these people. You know how much time they are away from their jobs and their families? You know, you can't even send money home to your families because you haven't been paid. But see, Donald Trump is stupid for doing this because as word spread to these National Guard troops, if they go to these different cities around the country and they're not going to get paid, I wouldn't blame them if they didn't show up. I wouldn't blame them. You got to pay out of pocket for hotel or wherever you're staying, and you got to pay for your own. He got to be crazy for doing that to people. But I'm not surprised. Like I said, just go look at Donald Trump's reputation for paying people, and you'll see this is a standing pattern that he has. And I think this is wrong. You are putting them in harm's way, telling them all these cities are so dangerous, so terrible. And they're out there walking the streets and dealing with these people. And you're saying that's not worth paying them for? This is definitely crazy. So, oh boy, I'm just dying to see if this is going to continue in the country with these folks going away and not only is he not paying them, the money that they're putting out of pocket for X amount of weeks away from home, they're not even getting compensated for that. It's not like, okay, well, you didn't get paid, but here's compensation for what you paid out. Nothing. Nothing. Can you imagine that? You're in a situation you did not ask to be in. And on top of that, you don't want to be there, but your president is telling you you have to go. And wow, Donald Trump, I don't blame anybody for walking away from your butt. What kind of incentive does that give anybody if they're not going to be paid? Oof, boy, not a good look, y'all. And my heart goes out to any of because quite a few of our brothers and sisters are in the National Guard. My heart goes out to you if you were deployed in LA and DC and you didn't get paid. I'm seriously, you got my sympathy. Wow. So, y'all, thank you so much for being here. I am not going to keep you a moment longer because, it's getting late and I got to get to the orders that I have. The sale, because some people were asking me, will be over as of the midnight on the 4th. So you have tonight and you have tomorrow to get your orders in to get the 37% off discount when you buy 2 items or more. So if you haven't gotten your order in and you want to get a few things, this would be the time to do it and get that good discount. So I'm going to get off of here because I got to work on the orders to get them out the door tomorrow. So y'all be on the lookout for my live streams tomorrow. I will see you then. Shalom, family.